March 30th, 2018.
And this is Nerd Bourbon episode 43. I'm Seth Sturgill, but Todd, all of your progress on this podcast is not going to carry over to your podcast.
That's good.
Did you enjoy that foreshadowing?
That's good. That is very good foreshadowing.
We're gonna do a we're gonna start this episode off by talking about some movies that we've been watching. It's gonna be kind of a loosey-goosey episode this week, Todd.
A hashtag no show notes sort of.
Hashtag no show notes. Yeah, we love doing that. We last night watched Baby Driver. I've been kind of, and I think I talked about this on the podcast before. I've been kind of watching a lot of kind of catching up on a lot of the older movies from last year that I haven't seen. A lot of the Oscar-nominated movies and stuff like that, and just stuff that I missed last year that kind of slipped through the cracks. So I've seen like a shit ton of movies over the past month or so, and I finally worked through all of the movies that I went on my renting spree. And Baby Driver was one of them. That was one of the ones that I wanted to watch with you. So, yeah, we watched that last night. How'd you feel about it?
I enjoyed it for the most part. Like, I think me and you, we both kind of like didn't really give a shit about like the love story.
Yeah, I mean, like, I liked it. Like, I liked the love story aspect of it, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know. The story, the actual narrative part of Baby Driver is my least favorite part of it.
Yeah. I'm
really impressed by the movie and how it pulls off a lot of the things that it pulls off. You know. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the actual like story, I couldn't really care less, to be honest with you. I don't think there was much there wasn't much meat on the bone there.
Yeah, we're on the same page with that, but there's a lot of just impressive things about that movie.
Yeah, like I love the the conceit of the movie is that the main character, Baby, he was in a car accident when he was younger, and he has tinnitus or whatever, where he has a constant ring in his ears. Mm. So to get around that, he's a getaway driver in this kind of like bank robbing group, and to get around that, he puts on his iPod, he listens to music just constantly. And so the movie has an almost constant stream of music, which does a couple of interesting things. Like, it kind of makes you feel like a little more attached to the character because you're seeing the events of the movie through his eyes. Mm. And I think that the movie establishes a really smart storytelling language in that regard because, yeah, like you feel connected to Baby because you are literally seeing it through his eyes and listening to it through his earbuds, in a sense. And whenever the music isn't playing, the ringing is present, you know? So you just it feels very cohesive, like the movie sets up that sort of language, sets up those like audio rules almost, and follows it throughout. But then there are these set pieces. And in fact, as soon as the movie opens, it's like this really impressive car chase, right?
Yep.
And it was already doing things that I've never like seen done like that before, you know. And I love the way that the movie worked things into the musical set pieces. Had elements from both the scenery that were kind of worked, so like lyrics from the song would be like graffiti on the wall and stuff like that, and gunfire would like match the beat of the music, and it was just really, I can't even imagine how hard it must have been to shoot this movie, because and a lot of the effects looked real, like they looked practical and stuff like that, and all of that's great, all of that's really impressive, but like I can't help but like be a little bit apprehensive about like the characters. Like I didn't really, none of the characters really appealed to me other than the main ones that are supposed to appeal to you. So like I liked Baby. I liked Deborah, the love interest. I liked the foster dad, you know. I liked Kevin Spacey just fine. You know. I was blinded by the balls. I'm not kidding. we got a good kick out of that. He said something else that was funny like that too, but I can't remember what it was.
Ah, that's the funnier one. But like, there is another one that he says. It's just like, oh shit.
He said another one, just stuff that's like funny out of context when you know, obviously you know about the whole shit with like Kevin Spacey's sexual harassment allegations and stuff like that. But yeah, no, it was a good movie. Like, I liked it. I think it was a little bit overhyped for me because like a mutual friend of ours has really been like singing the movie's praises. But Edgar Wright, I mean, he's a really, really great director, and I've liked all of his movies. Like, between the what's it called, the Cornetto trilogy.
Yeah, it's the Cornetto trilogy, which is, I love those movies. But continue.
Love those movies. Love Scott Pilgrim. I love his whole sort of like his collected works, and Baby Driver is another good one, and it does some unique things that I've never really seen in a movie before. But yeah, there's just some of that cliche shit was just frustrating to me, you know? Like,
yeah.
Like, we were both laughing about when John Hamm's character was like,
you can't escape.
You can't escape this, baby. You know, you're just like, God, really? You're gonna go for that? And then there's like the whole moment. You know, I don't want to get into deep spoilers, but he has a moment at the end where it's basically like, nice try, kind of thing. Like that typical villain you think is dead kind of moment. You know,
it's like, you're good, kid type shit. It's like,
yeah, no, you're good, kid. I'll give you that kind of thing. But you know, that's neither here nor there. I think that the movie like doesn't really give a fuck how you feel about its characters. I think it's more so about the actual craft of the movie, and I really respect that aspect of it. But these are just movies that we didn't really necessarily want to do a shots about because they're kind of older. The one movie that we haven't watched yet that we might do a shots about still is The Shape of Water.
Yeah.
Because you know that was obviously the Best Picture winner and stuff like that. So that may be one that we do a shots about. I saw 2 more movies because I had some days off of work, and I want to just really briefly kind of talk about them because these were Oscar-nominated movies too. And man, like, now that I'm catching up on these, it's really kind of driven home just how great of a year last year was for movies. Because like, I'm just like, holy shit, man! Like, every movie that I'm watching has been good. I mean, except for Blade Runner, but like every other one has been good.
Blade Runner's not bad.
I didn't like it. I mean, I've liked them all except for Blade Runner. Like, Blade Runner was the only one that I like actively was not a fan of. It's not a bad movie. It's just not my cup of tea. But yeah, so I watched Lady Bird, which was fucking incredible. Like, that movie was so good. Like, one of the best, if not the best, coming of age movies that I've ever seen. Like, that sort of like growing up teen movie, you know? Mm-hmm. Great movie, hilarious, great characters, great acting, great script. Like, that movie's like perfect. It's like that is a god tier movie. And honestly, if it weren't for a way, or not a way out, if it weren't for Get Out, that would probably, Lady Bird would probably be my favorite movie that I've seen in 2017. Okay. It was that good. It's a really fucking good movie. I don't know if it would necessarily be your cup of tea.
It's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, but for me, like, I love movies like that. Like, I love kind of like coming of age teen dramas. And it doesn't necessarily like reinvent the wheel, but everything it does so well. And the story just has such a like, the story and the characters just really ring true. Like, it's really, really good. The other movie that I watched, it's another Oscar-nominated movie. It was 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. This one, I think, is kind of your cup of tea.
Okay.
This one, I think that I think you should watch this if you have an interest, and I think you actually would enjoy this because this has more of like a like, this is the most Coen Brothers ass like movie that is not directed by the Coen Brothers. So it has like a No Country for Old Men kind of vibe.
Okay.
It's like a dark comedy, I guess I would call it, / drama. Basically, the premise is this woman, Mildred Hayes, played by Frances McDormand, her daughter is raped and killed in this small town in Missouri, and it's been like, when the movie picks up, it's been like 9 or 10 months or something like that since she was killed, and the police have done like nothing. Like they have not found the killer yet. There's like nothing. She's pissed, right? So she rents out these 3 billboards, and they say they're just, she just rents out these billboards with like big red text, like just, bright red, like, with big font and everything, and it says, and one of them says raped while dying. The second one says, and still no arrests. And the third one says, how come, Chief Willoughby? And it causes this whole stir, and the whole thing is like, I haven't heard from you in fucking 9 months, but the second I put those billboards up, I'm hearing from you an awful lot, kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
And it has there's a lot of fallout. It's a very like explosive movie, and the characters, what I really like about the movie is that this guy, he did another movie called In Bruges that I saw that I really liked, and this was true of that movie too. He just doesn't give a fuck if you like his characters or not, because these are like, a lot of them are actually bad people. Like, just not good people, and they don't make rational decisions. Like, they make decisions that you as the viewer do not agree with, and he doesn't care how you feel about it, because these are irrational people. And that is a through line through the movie. But what's nice is, despite the fact that they're irrational, and despite the fact that they go off the handle and they explode and they do things you don't agree with, you still root for them. Like, you kind of love to hate them a little bit.
Okay.
And they do all have an arc. They do all have like a through line through the movie that you can follow and see their characters grow. It's really, really good. I don't want to get super, super into it just in case you see it, but and I think you should, because I think you actually would like that one. But it's really fucking good. But yeah, I've been watching a lot of movies. I think within the next week or so, you and I will probably find time to watch Shape of Water and maybe do a shots on it, because we haven't done a shot since Black Panther, I think.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
And that was in February. And honestly, after we do Shape of Water, I think the next one is probably not going to be until probably Infinity War.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Well, there's some good movies coming out, but I don't want it to just be all superhero movies, So it'll be nice to have Shape of Water to kind of like shake shit up. But yeah, 3 Billboards, Lady Bird, Baby Driver. These are all very good movies. 2017 was just a great year for movies. Like, it's been really nice to catch up on these Oscar noms, and the fact that they've all been so good. Like Lady Bird and Get Out. Like, these are like top 10 movies. Like, these are excellent, excellent movies that I would seriously put among my favorites of all time. Like, and they both came out in the same year. Like, it's very, very good. Anyway, moving on from that, we both played, so we've had a lot of co-op experiences and a lot of content both on Twitch and YouTube this past week. I think it's been kind of a fun experience for you, because normally Twitch is kind of a rarity for us. And here lately,
it's been pretty entertaining. But it's not like annoying to deal with, because like, I'm not like doing like heavy like edits or anything, like,
no,
because it's just boom, I'm grabbing the shit. It's just the exporting takes all day.
It's just a time consuming thing, but it's just funny from your perspective, I imagine, because like Twitch used to be a every once in a while thing, and now like we've been streaming so fucking much. I think it's like every day this week you've probably had some kind of video to export.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So there's a ton of new content on the YouTube channel, guys. We streamed our entire playthrough of A Way Out, which we'll talk about in a second, and then we've been streaming Far Cry 5, which just came out this past Tuesday, and I want to kind of talk about that, because Far Cry 5, I think you and I are kind of in agreement that Far Cry 5 is a good video game.
Yeah, it's very fun. It's very good, but you continue on. You tell the problems.
It's just, I can't fucking believe, Todd. I can't believe the way they handle the co-op in the game. I mean, I kind of made like a stab at it in the intro, but essentially, so like Todd's playing. I'm the host of the Twitch stream. We're doing it kind of from my perspective, my gameplay. So Todd is joining my game. Now, let me back up a second, because when Far Cry 5 was kind of shown off really in earnest last E3, they came on stage and they tout, oh, like you can play, the best thing about Far Cry 5 is you can play the entire game from start to finish in co-op, right? Like this whole thing, you can do story missions in co-op, you can do the whole thing, all of it's available to you in co-op. And you and I were excited because we love playing games in co-op together, and we're like, oh, fuck yeah, And I mean, Far Cry 5, like the way they handle the co-op is just, it's a travesty. Like, it's so bad. Like, it works. Like, don't get me wrong, they delivered technically on what they promised, but
I'm gonna chime in.
Interject.
I don't see the fucking point in playing the game in co-op. It's complete ass. Because the whole deal...
Explain why.
Yeah, so the whole deal is when you join somebody's game, like, I think I read their fucking reasoning about, we wanted the host to really be in control of the game, or some shit like that. Whatever. Which is fine, whatever. That's still garbage. It's a garbage reason. But, so, the person that joins the game, the only thing that will be saved of your progress is the weapons you get, the perk, you can unlock the perks because you get perk points,
right?
And that's basically it. Like any story related things, any missions that you do, you open up the map, whatever, that will not carry over to your game. So what I've been having to do is, like, we'd sit there and do the stream, and then I'd sit there and have to, like, jump into my game and catch up to the point so I could, like, have, like, if that's when I gave a shit. I don't give a shit right now. So, like, now it's like I'm looking at it like, oh, I was, like, really excited to get, like, the recurve bow. Don't give a fuck anymore. It completely killed my spirit to actually, like, play the game. Like, I'm gonna play it and enjoy it when I'm playing with you, but I can't play this game by myself. It broke me. It's
so fucking frustrating, man. Like I honestly can't believe they handled it this way. Like you were saying, it did kind of, like, break me on it. Like, I was just like, fuck, man, you gotta be kidding me. Like
we even were, like, kind of talking about it. I was like, I don't even feel like for a second I was like, should we just kill the fucking stream? Like,
yeah, like, is it even worth streaming anymore? Because, like, and now we did learn that. So there was another wrinkle to this where the way that the trophies are handled. So any trophy that says solo campaign only, I can unlock, but Todd can't.
Yep.
So now it's to the point where, and another facet of it is the game, when you're running on co-op, it's been kind of fucking with my Twitch stream a little bit. So, like, we recorded a 3-hour session yesterday that is just trash now because it just I don't know if it was a problem with the stream itself or if it was the way the game was interacting with the stream. But
yeah, I don't know what exactly happened, but so I don't know if you, like, watched it yourself to see what happened.
No,
on
I
the
didn't.
stream. So what happens is, like, there's, like, 2 parts of the stream that'll completely just go black, and it seems like, but here's the deal, it's still picking up our audio, like, from our mics. It's just like it stopped capturing the game for, like, shit. One of them was pretty long, actually. One of them was for, like, almost, like, 10 minutes, I think.
Jesus.
And I'm gonna talk about this because I want it to be known that I did some badass shit that nobody will ever see. So there's a part in the game, spoilers, where you're going after this guy named John Seed, and it's a whole dogfight, like, airplane battle shit. Complete garbage. Complete garbage experience.
Yeah, so the structure, basically, I guess we should explain what the structure of the game is. So, like,
go ahead.
You basically have Hope County in Montana where the game takes place. And we'll get into the weeds on that a little bit later. But it's divided into 3 sections that kind of have 3, like, kind of rulers over the land. And you have to, by doing the side content and story missions in those sections, you're basically working towards a bar where you eventually take down the sort of like leader. And yeah, the leader of the region where we started is John Seed, and like Todd was saying, it culminates in what is supposed to be a dog fight. So,
but it got to the point where we like I think we died about like shit
at least like 7 or 8 times.
Yeah, it's like at least 5+. You know, it's like it was pretty bad, and like we were like. I think the reason I even did this was because you're like, man, I need your ass to be like R2-D2. I'm like, I wish I could.
Yeah, with your repair torch.
Yeah. So the next time we jumped on it, I didn't even get into the airplane. I actually jumped onto the wing. And it's still, I wasn't able to repair from it because it's like, oh, you can't repair it if the vehicle's moving. But what the funny thing is how long I was on that fucking airplane. On the wing while you were flying.
Yeah, you were on the wing for a long time.
Like, I was on there, like, you were, like, shooting at him and shit. I'm like, I'm surprised I'm still on here. I knew exactly when I was going to fall off. And, like, if you had to do, like, a barrel roll. And
right.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, but for the most part, like, pretty much, you stayed on that fucking wing until I got to the... Yeah, until I got to the point where I had to, like, go upside down, basically.
Yeah, it's like, I was basically, like, I think I died, and then, like, you basically finished that fight, like, within the next, like, minute, basically.
Yep.
And then I'm like, that's nice. Actually, and it's funny, is that was the moment I was like, dude, I can't wait to watch this shit from your perspective. And I download it, and I'm, like, watching, I'm like, in my video editor, I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?
Yeah, because I looked over at you a couple times on the wing. Just, yeah. I mean, look, it's a fun game. Like that mission though, man, was bullshit. Like that was so bad.
I feel like we almost got to the point where we wanted to just like stop and just like just end the stream.
Because like I got a short fuse for shit like that. Because
I know.
Because like for me, like I lose patience with shit like that real quick. My time is precious.
See, it's like my patience is worse nowadays, but I do think like Dark Souls, like the Soul series, like helped hone my shit with games. Like I don't lose my shit that bad.
Well, here's the deal. Yeah, Dark Souls and Bloodborne and stuff like that. Those games are different because you're still making progress.
Yeah.
Even if you die in those games. Like the thing about those games is like even when I die, I'm still making internalized progress because I know what I need to do as a player. Thing about something like this where the setup is that he takes off in his plane and you're basically supposed to chase him down and shoot his plane down. Okay. Thing is, they give you 2 planes in co-op. You can't be too far away from each other, so Todd would jump in his plane and we'd be flying doing our thing, and then after a while Todd would just get teleported into my cockpit.
Yeah, because that's actually one of the things that I actually did is like he rocks you so quick. Like with his plane.
And if he shoots you, you're basically dead.
Yeah, so I was like, at one point I was like, shit, I'm gonna dip out and land and like heal myself, heal the plane with a repair torch. Couldn't even do it because I instantly got teleported into your plane. I was like, all right, cool.
Yep. Yeah, because they have the whole distance rule where you can't be too far away, and I understand why they do that. The game, it's hard for the game to. A lot of co-op games do this, especially open world co-op games. You can't render the entire map at once. With everything. Like, I can't be in Jacob's or John's or whatever area, and you're all the way over in fucking whoever, on the other side of the map, because they would have to render 2 maps in the same persistent world, So I understand why they did that, but it's really frustrating. Like the whole, and then, like, vehicles take priority when you teleport, so there'll be times when I'm running towards the next objective, and you sat your controller down to go get a drink or whatever, and you're sitting in a vehicle, and I just get teleported into your vehicle and lost, 200, meters of like progress. Yep. There's just so much frustrating bullshit like that, where like they say that the game was, and then they say the game was designed with co-op in mind, and then like there have been a couple situations where we literally have to like out jank the janky AI to like make it work in co-op.
Oh, you're talking. Oh yeah, that's another part I don't think we have in the video. Is where I legit had to punch an AI and like knock her out, and then revived her so she'd work.
So she would work, and it was the reason that the AI fucked up is because you hopped in instead of me, because the game is like pretty much all the objectives have to be completed by me as the main player.
Yeah,
it's really really annoying.
Co-op and mind my ass.
It just feels like an afterthought. Like, I respect the fact that you can literally do everything, like in co-op together, but the way that they handled unlocking progress is nuts. Like, it's nuts to me that you can't carry over your progress into your game. And yeah, it's to the point where it's like, what's the point? Like, we might as well just be playing the game solo, and just like literally, we might as well just play the game solo. And then if we're gonna play it in co-op at all, it should just be to clean up outposts together or whatever, you know, like.
Yeah, like that's what we were thinking about doing, but honestly, it's like by the end of the last stream, I was just like, I don't even give a fuck about playing this game by myself anymore. So it's
But then there's another wrinkle on top of that where there is actually content and weapons and perks that you cannot unlock because you need progression in your own game in order to unlock it.
Just don't give a shit. I just won't be able to have 4 weapons.
You won't be able to have 4 weapons. You won't be able to have the last health upgrade. You won't be able to have the recurve bow.
It's fine.
Like, that's horseshit. It's not fine. That's horseshit. Like, that is not fine. That is fucking horseshit. Like, that's awful. And it just, and the whole thing just, and I'm having fun playing co-op with you because the game is fun. Like, I like the game. I'm going to talk more about the game in a minute in a positive light because I feel like we've been really negative on it. And it's fun to play in co-op, but it's like, fucking A, man. Like, this stuff was just clearly not considered. Like, not play tested enough, not actioned upon. I almost can't believe that they shipped the game with the co-op like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's that bad. Like, the structure of it is that bad. Playing it is a lot of fun. So let's talk about the positives.
One of the few positives is stealth.
Yeah, when we were doing a couple of sections that were like supposed to be stealthier, and we were just beating the shit out of people with like baseball bats and shovels, and every time we did, just stealth, stealth,
just completely running up to people doing the takedowns.
And it just sucks because that was like that's in the video that is now lost to time, you know. So
I might be able to salvage some of that. So like, I might make from that third stream, it would have been Far Cry Part 3 or whatever. Right. Part 2 should be up by the time this podcast is up, so check that out. But Part 3 will probably not exist. And what will probably happen with Part 3 is if I find the time to sit there and like do like I don't think it will take that long once I sit there and do it, is grab a supercut of like all like the stealth.
The highlights, the stealth. Because that shit was good. I do thoroughly enjoy that. And at that point, it can just be like a little clip show, basically, just a few minutes of that. But no, like, you know, look, I really like the setting. Like, I think Montana is a great setting for a Far Cry game, and having lived in Montana for like I think we lived there for like 8 months or something like that. Having actually lived there, it is kind of cool to see. And we didn't live in like rural Montana, but we've been to areas like that in Montana where they really did capture the vibe of Montana pretty well. Where Montana is in the Pacific Northwest, but unlike its surroundings. So like it's near Colorado and Washington and Oregon and stuff. And that's my favorite, by far my favorite area of the country. The difference is Montana has the sort of Pacific Northwest scenery without the vibes of like Colorado, Washington, and Oregon. Because like Montana is essentially a red state. With the same kind of like so basically it's got like the political and sort of like people vibes of like Texas, but with the sort of atmosphere and scenery of Washington or Oregon or something like that. Very like mountains and stuff like that. Very pretty. But it's just funny because there's a lot of like, and this is true in the game too, a lot of like Murica fuck yeah in the game, you know? And I think that is captured. That's very true about Montana. Just in this short amount of time that I lived there, and I love it in Montana. I think Montana's a great state. Had a great time living there. 10 out of 10 would live again. And I don't know, like I feel like the game captures the vibes of Montana really well, and I think it's a fun locale for Far Cry to explore, and moreover, I like the way that the game has changed its sort of structure. Like the structure of the game used to be right. It used to be do radio towers. The radio towers reveal checkboxes for you to check, basically. Kill animals to upgrade your gear, rinse and repeat. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of different now, because now the radio towers are kind of gone, like totally almost.
And they make a joke about it in the beginning of the game.
Yeah, they make a pretty good little jab at that at the beginning. The radio towers are gone, and now you can explore the entire map, and it's the biggest Far Cry map they've ever done. And it's just got fog on it until you go and explore it, Mm-hmm. And you discover things a little more naturalistically. So now you discover outposts by either stumbling upon them or talking to somebody that you've rescued, and they'll reveal an outpost to you. There are these new sort of things in the world called prepper stashes,
probably
which are really
my
fun.
Favorite new things, yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoy the prepper stashes. Essentially, they're like little mini puzzles. They're usually pretty simple, and they seem to follow kind of a similar structure. But every now and then, you get that prepper stash that's really interesting. Like one of them's a haunted house, which was fun. I really enjoyed that one, actually, where we had to like swim across the river and snipe the lock from inside.
Yeah, that one.
I liked that one. A lot of them are just kind of like, oh, find this key and turn on this generator, or, drain this water or whatever. But every now and then you get those ones that are actually kind of interesting. And, the prepper stashes are cool. And inside you get, a lot of money and perk magazines that award perk points.
You basically get 3 perk points for every prepper stash.
Yeah. And another interesting thing that I think the game does, that is another departure, kind of making it feel more like, God, I'll never forget this. This drove me crazy. When Far Cry 3 came out, I worked at GameStop at the time, and on the TV just constantly. And it was not only was it on the TV, but it was actually encouraged for employees to say. So everybody was calling Far Cry 3 Skyrim with guns. It's like Skyrim with guns. Oh, if you like Skyrim, you would love Far Cry 3. It's like Skyrim with guns. I swear to God, I got so sick of that fucking phrase.
I hated that. I hated that phrase. Just, anyways.
But this one, the way that they handle the perks does sort of feel a little bit like it's taking a page from Elder Scrolls a little bit. So you unlock the perk points now, not only from the prepper stashes, but also by doing things just naturally in the game as you're doing them. Mm-hmm. So, like you unlocked a perk point for traveling a certain amount of distance with your wingsuit or whatever. Like they unlock more naturalistically, and you spend these on different abilities that are laid out. And I don't know, to me I like that a little bit more than the Far Cry's past. I think that just feels a little more naturalistic. The whole game feels more naturalistic. Like all of the progression in the game feels more natural. And to that end, like, it is kind of nice that you don't have to go and hunt anymore, except for the fact that it is the best way to make money.
It kind of is, yeah, just to sell the skins.
Yeah, selling the skins is a really effective way to make money, because if you look at some of the skin prices, just one skin, you're getting like $100. You know?
Like one time, I think I was like, when I was giving a shit and like playing my own game, I like went like a little hunting spree, and I got like 5,000 real quick.
Yeah, that seems to be the best way to make money, and money matters more in this Far Cry game than it has in the past, even though the amount of things that you can buy with money seems to be smaller than it ever has been. There aren't like that many weapons in this game. But there are a lot of attachments for those weapons, and you kind of get into the groove of finding the weapons that you like really quickly, which I enjoy. In other words, I think this game makes it a little bit easier than it has in the past games to kind of find your groove and sort of like build your character the way you want more quickly and more efficiently.
Yeah.
Based on what you're doing as a player versus just kind of going through the process of like I said, radio tower, outpost, hunting, rinse, repeat. This feels more naturalistic. This feels more exploration based, I guess, and I like that about it. How do you feel about the sort of like story? Like, how do you feel about this sort of religious cult?
Now, I think we were talking about this earlier. Like, I kind of dig the way they went with like the whole religious overtones because it's creepy if they handle it properly, and I think they're handling it properly.
Yeah, I said this when we were playing Outlast, and I said it to you again when we were playing Far Cry together. Like, there is something really disturbing to me about religious violence. Like, I don't know if it's because I grew up very religious. I don't know if it's because I was sort of raised in that culture, but like when it's handled that way, when it's played up like a horror, violent element, religious extremism is fucking scary, you know?
Yep.
There's a quote in Red State, which is a great fucking movie about this sort of subject matter, where John Goodman says like people do the craziest things when they believe they're entitled, but they do even crazier shit when they just plain believe, you know. And yeah, those aren't his exact words, but that's essentially what the quote says.
Enough. Yeah.
And this it's true in all of this kind of fiction, and I think it is handled effectively here without beating you over the head too much. I do think they play up the sort of creepy religious cult pretty well with that Jared Leto ass motherfucker who's leading it all. And I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes ultimately, but the thing that is sort of annoying about this one is you can never really have too much stake in your character because your character is no longer a character, you know?
Yeah. It's more or less just like you're just there to witness the story, and that's about it.
You're the deputy. You aren't like you played like AJ or whatever in Far Cry 4. Like you had a character. AJ, golly, wasn't that it?
Yeah. And I think we called him like AJ Gale or some shit.
I think it was AJ Gale, but like every like Pagan men called him like AJ Gale.
Which I'm assuming is like the actual pronunciation. We're just
well, I think it is the correct pronunciation, but I think he tried to Americanize himself a little bit, and I think that was kind of the point. Is like he kind of came home, right? But he was trying to kind of escape his roots in that whole. Anyway, that's another story for another time. But that's the point. That little bit of talking about Far Cry 4 that we just did is more significant from a narrative perspective than anything that's in Far Cry 5. Yeah. You know? Like and because of that, I can't really get connected to the villain as much. Even though I think he's cool and I think he's creepy and effective and stuff like that, I can't really connect myself to him because my character's not connected to him. You know? Yeah. My character's just a faceless sheriff's deputy. And, you know, it's cool because you can play as male or female here, and you can customize your character to a very limited degree. But, you know, that's a minor complaint. I think overall, Far Cry 5 is a good video game. I'm enjoying it so far. It just has those significant glaring flaws, especially when it involves the co-op, that just really frustrate me. Like, if that were ironed out, I could definitely see this being one of those games that like we keep coming back to just for the co-op.
Yeah,
you know,
co-op's pretty shit.
But the co-op just leaves such a bad taste in my mouth that, I mean, we were having conversations where we were like, do we even want to do this shit at all? You know?
Yep.
So, anyway, that's Far Cry 5. The other game that we played this week is A Way Out. Another, in a similar vein, a game that we both really enjoyed, but by the end of it, left a bad taste in my mouth.
Now, but it's for different things. It's for the way they handled like the story towards the end, and a little bit of the gameplay, I guess.
Right.
Towards the end.
How do you I guess start us off with The Way Out. What's going on with The Way Out?
A Way Out is a co-op experience, a full co-op experience. You have to actually play this in co-op.
Yeah, you cannot play it single player.
Yes. You play as two characters, Vincent Moretti and I don't remember your character's name.
I think it's Leo Caruso, but I'm surprised that you remembered Vincent Moretti. That's I think it's Leo Caruso.
I only remember that character because I played him. So
that's fair. I think I only remembered Leo because I played him.
Exactly. So, it starts out like it's basically like my character, your character's already in prison, and my character is like walking into the prison.
Right.
And it starts out as it is I think it's something that we both agree on. I wish it was just like the whole game was just a prison escape sort of thing. Like, and for the most part, like, that is the best part of the game, is like the actual prison escape.
Yeah, because so so this is made by the guys who did Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, and that game was a single player game that required you to control two characters. Well, A Way Out has two characters that are controlled by different people. However, even online, split screen or online, it is split screen. So I can see what Todd's doing, Todd can see what I'm doing. And it's interesting because you have to work together in really interesting ways to try to escape prison together. Now, and I'm not saying that the game immediately ran out of ideas, but by the end of it, I felt like the game kind of showed us all the tricks that it had up its sleeve, gameplay-wise.
Yeah.
We were still doing interesting things. Like, I really enjoyed the hospital scene, for example. But I feel like the game really was at its best in that prison. That first chapter, it's about a 6-hour game. I would say the first hour and a half of it is in the prison. Yeah. And we did. You guys can watch our full playthrough, our full gameplay on YouTube. It's in 3 parts. Each are about 2 hours long. We got about 6 hours out of it. So it just really that was my overall point coming away from the game was, man, I don't know that I needed to see these guys leave prison, I don't know that I needed to see what the life was like after prison. And I mean, they did an interesting thing of the story. There's a big plot twist at the end that I don't want to spoil. I barely want to even say that there is a plot twist at the end.
Yeah, right.
Because you and I didn't see it coming.
We didn't see it coming. I was just like, what?
It was just surprising. And because of that, because I so don't want to spoil the twist, because it is a good and well-executed twist, I can't really effectively talk about the way that the ending pissed me off.
Yeah. Definitely can't.
But what I will say, and I'm going to be careful about saying this, is that the ending did not, to me, feel earned because of the cop-outs that they made in terms of gameplay. Even though they did the sort of reveal at the end effectively, and even though I think it was a good twist, and I think it was overall a good, effective story, the way that they coupled the gameplay with it was dealt with in such an unsatisfying way to me, and frustratingly, because the whole time I was literally like, this is how they could have done this better,
So I think we're safe with that explanation.
Yeah, I think that's a good explanation that does not spoil what it is. But the whole time, it was frustrating to me because I was like, you could have done this so much better, and literally this is how this should have been handled, and it wasn't. And it's frustrating because it's a really cool idea, but it did that ending chapter really left a bad taste in my mouth, to the point where I was like, man, as cool as this was, it just fell short at the end. It didn't really stick the landing for me. And it really knocked it down a peg for me. Even though I still enjoyed the experience overall, I still think that it was a really good, worthwhile, innovative experience overall. That ending, man, the way they handled that really kind of pissed me off. I do want to give them props, though, because the game is, what, $30?
Yeah.
It's a $30 game. And the interesting thing about it is, if you own the game, anybody can play with you online. Any friend that you have that you want to play with can play with you for free.
I wish I knew that.
I wish I knew that too, because we both bought the game for basically no reason. But I'm glad that we supported it and stuff like that. That's
actually where it was for me. I was like, least I supported the game, I
Yeah,
guess.
I'm glad we support it because I do like the game a lot. I do think that the game is interesting enough, like mechanically. Like it's nice to support a game that is doing something new. I've never played a game like that before. You know,
Yeah.
the closest corollary to that is like maybe Army of Two.
Yeah, that's probably the closest thing. But it's even then, it's, oh god, Army of Two. What's...
I Army of Two had some neat ideas though, right? It had that sort of thing where you
did.
could see the other person's gameplay and stuff like that.
There was a level of, like, cooperation in that game as well.
Right.
Like, with certain things.
And these are the kind of experiences that you can only have in a video game. Like, A Way Out could not have been a movie. You know what I mean? Like, that is only possible through video games. And I respect that about it.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I really respect, though, is that, yeah, the other person can play totally for free. And the game's only $30 for a 6-hour game. I mean, there's not a whole lot of replayability after other than to clean up trophies and stuff. But what a cool business model. I mean, it's got high production values. The game looks pretty good for it being an indie game.
Yeah.
You know, and it's got, you know, it tells a good story in a unique way. And, you know, yeah, there's some things that are iffy about it. Another thing I forgot to mention is that there are moments where you eventually have to use guns, and that's kind of, you know.
That's kind of where the gameplay kind of, like, falls off for the both of us, because it's just, like, my personal thing is I really just enjoyed, like, the cooperation and actually, like, figuring shit out, or, like, and I do enjoy, like, there's, like, some really good set piece moments.
Yeah.
And that's where I don't really want to spoil those. Those are just fun, though. Like, there's just some really good set piece moments with, like, a construction site and a hospital.
Right.
Shit like that.
That's all great. But the prison, though, that short little, like, 2-hour chunk in the prison where we had to really work together, and we didn't have weapons, and there was no conflict other than, the prison is basically one big puzzle that we had to solve together. And it got to the point where we became so good at the co-op together, we didn't even have to talk to each other a lot of the time. We just kind of knew the ebbs and flows of each other. And that, I think that really could have been extended to a full game just on its own. And I don't think we ever had to see them outside of the prison at all. And when I said earlier that the game sort of ran out of ideas by the end, like, it does sort of devolve to the point where you're just two dudes shooting a bunch of other dudes, and it kind of becomes a shooter with bad shooting mechanics and bad cover mechanics. You know?
Oh, God, that's so bad.
And that's what frustrates me about A Way Out. Like, A Way Out was great until the last third of it is really mediocre, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Story stuff notwithstanding. I think the story is good throughout, but that last third, gameplay-wise, very, very just half-baked. You know, it almost feels like they just ran out of ideas, and the ideas they had for the ending were... Their hearts were in the right place, but they didn't execute. So overall, it went from being like, you know, in the prison scene, that prison scene for me, 10 out of 10 experience.
Oh, yeah.
And then
without a doubt.
And then by the end, if the prison scene was the entire game, it would have easily been on my top 10 of the year.
That's some real shit, though. Yeah.
That was a great experience. Like, that is an experience that I will not soon forget, is escaping that prison with you. And then by the time we reached the end, though, I was like, okay, yeah, it's like a 7 out of 10 kind of experience. You know,
I
like,
think that's exactly what I said.
yeah, like, and I agreed. I was like, yeah, you know, it's a good game though. Overall, I think it's well worth playing just because of how fucking interesting it is and how it is doing new things. You know, I don't really have much more to say about it other than that. Do you?
I think we kind of covered it without because we don't want to jump into spoilers for it. So
don't want to touch on any spoilers, but I do think you should play A Way Out, and I think you should play Far Cry as well. Like, these are good games. Like, everything we've talked about in this episode are things that I think you should do and experience. Caveats notwithstanding. That's really all I wanted to talk about this week. Was there anything else you wanted to shout out or talk about?
Stealth.
We have an episode of Eats that we're going to be doing pretty soon. I don't think it's going to make it by the time you hear this, but we do have an episode of Eats coming. Like I said, I would imagine that next week you're probably going to at least have, of course you're going to have the main show. You're probably also going to have an episode of Eats, and you might even have another episode of Shots. I don't know. We'll see. Yep. No promises, but those...
We might go for the trifecta.
Go for that trifecta, that sweet, sweet trifecta. We just got to figure out what our next episode of book club is going to be, and we'll be set, right?
Oh, Lord.
So much content, Todd. So much content. Yeah, so I think that's going to do it for us. You guys have been listening to Nerd Bourbon. If you guys had a good time listening to us talk about movies and video games, go ahead and throw us a follow or a sub on whatever service you're listening to us on. And if there's a service we aren't currently on that you want us on, let us know so we can make it happen for you. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, or concerns, leave them for me. You might get your question right on the show. And you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdbourbon. We are at nerdbourbon on Twitter. We're nerdbourbon on Twitch. And beyond that, the best and only way for us to grow is if you tell your friends about us. So thank you guys so much for listening. Get fucking dunked on. Bye.
Stealth.